After Patrick Mahomes signed the largest contract in NFL history, our friend Rob Parker wrote a column saying everyone should pump the brakes on Kansas City. And Rob said this, guys, there's a good chance the Chiefs don't win another Super Bowl during Mahomes' 12-year contract. Rob Parker is with us now. Rob, state your case.
You know, I get it. Everybody's excited. You know, Shannon's on board now after he didn't even pick them for the Super Bowl. But now he's all in. He thinks they're going to win every time out. And all I'm saying is go look at the history of the NFL. When Kurt Warner and the Rams, the greatest show on turf, nobody would have ever believed that they wouldn't have won another Super Bowl, but they didn't. Aaron Rodgers, when they won with the Packers, you would have thought they would have won. They haven't even been back to the Super Bowl. And you can even Russell Wilson and the Legion of Boom, right? What about them? With that defense and Russell Wilson, you would have assumed that they would have won 2 or 3. They haven't won anything.
Well, they had one.
Well, they won one.
What about Pete Carroll?
Well, but they didn't win it, and that's my point. And the other thing is, even Skip, you and Tom Brady, and you can give Brady all the credit you want and everything, but let's just be honest. He went 10 years. There was a 10-year drought of them not winning a Super Bowl. Do you remember that, Skip? Nobody. People act like that didn't happen.
I remember 9 years, not 10. 9.
It was, all right, whatever you wanted. It was almost 10 years, a full decade without winning. So my point is that you can be great. And one other example is Dan Marino, who threw 48 touchdowns his second year, went to the Super Bowl. Everybody just assumed, oh, yeah, Marino and the Dolphins, they're going to win and they're going to do this. They never won it. They never win again. Dan Marino played 17 years in the NFL. So before you give Patrick Mahomes 3, 4, 5 Super Bowls, just realize that it doesn't happen that often, and dynasties are very difficult to put together.
I agree. They are very difficult, Rob. And the thing is, you look at Kurt Warner. At the time of Kurt Warner won his first one, he was already 28 years of age. Pat Mahomes has another 4 or 5 years before he reaches that age. Dan Marino is a very compelling point. And the thing is that what I like most about Kansas City is that when they got Honey Badger, they improved in their secondary. They re-signed Chris Jones. The thing that hurt Dan is that they never had a defense. What hurt Aaron Rodgers? He's only had one top 5 scoring defense, and the year he had it, guess what he did, Rob? He won the Super Bowl. So the Green Bay front office let him down. I do not believe Andy Reid and that front office will let Patrick Mahomes down. Their core players are signed at the bare minimum for the next 2 years. So I'm not saying he's going to win 5, 6, 7, 10, but for me, I think there's a greater chance he wins 1 or 2 than there's a likelihood that he does not win 1 or 2.
Well, that's not very dynastic, is it? 1 or 2?
No, I already told you, Skip Bayless. We winning 1 of the next 2.
1 of the next 2.
Yeah.
So you, in 12 more years of contract, you say he'll win two more Super Bowls?
Yep, that's what I told you.
Okay, so Rob, to your point, I said that over the next 12 years, Patrick will get to 2 Super Bowls and win 1 more. That would be an accomplishment because you did. I read your piece, Rob. It was well written, well conceived, unusually, but it was. and yet, you make very compelling points. It's just hard to sustain in this league,
especially football.
It's just hard. Everybody, you got reverse order drafting, you got free agency, you got caps. It's hard. And so I do think, Rob, it points up just how great Tom Brady was. And I hear you about your one stretch. I counted it last night just to make sure. 9 years, he got to 2 Super Bowls and lost both of them to, of all quarterbacks, Eli Manning. That's what happened in that stretch. But remember, he opened his career by winning 3 out of 4 in the first 4 years he was starting. He closed his career in New England going to the Super Bowl 4 times in 5 years and winning 3. And in the one he lost, he set the all-time playoff record for passing yards in a game. Well, that's pretty spectacular. That's like a dynasty start and a dynasty finish wrapped into, and it adds up to 9 and 20 years. It just points up how phenomenal, how off the chart that accomplishment was. But back to your Marino point, I'm going to give Patrick Mahomes one thing over the Marino that I covered and watched fairly closely. Patrick is more coachable than Dan Marino was. You worked with him, Shannon, so you know. he was an all-time. I thought he was the greatest thrower of football that I've ever seen. I know you guys talk about it. Whoa, could he? But he didn't like to run the football, so he didn't want to call running plays. He wanted to throw it every down to his detriment. And his defenses were not great, so he had the one off-the-charts year, and he lost to, no shame, Joe Montana.
Right.
He got outgunned by Joe Montana in the Super Bowl, and then he really never got close to going back.
No.
Okay.
And Skip, you mentioned that he had in Dan Marino's career, he had one 1,000-yard rusher, and it was the other Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
Yep.
So let that sink in for just a second. And when you can't run the football, if you just throw, you don't have a defense that can withstand that. So now you throw, you put your defense right back on the field, and teams go up and down the field on you. But I like Patrick Mahomes for this. He's young enough. They have their core players tied. See, the thing is, what football is so difficult, Skip, basketball will trade their best player to a team that's been in the playoffs. So will baseball. Football, they're not trading their best player to a team that's going to the playoffs. If they trade their best player, he's going to a bad team. So you don't get even better by taking someone else's best players. And then free agency, Skip, the good teams, they can't sign top-notch free agents because there isn't cap space. So I think that has a lot to do with why we don't see dynasties in football like we've seen in the other sports.
Here's the other part, Shannon, too. When you talk about the NFL and its landscape, look at the other good young quarterbacks in Lamar Jackson, Deshaun Watson, who will put up competition for Patrick Mahomes. And then if you go over to the NFC, you still have some veterans.
Yeah, Russell Wilson's not going anywhere.
But who are still trying to pad their resumes as they end their career and hope to have a run like Brady at the end, where maybe you could sneak in and you're Aaron Rodgers and win 1 or 2 in your last 5 or 6 years or something like that. So I just think that the road is way more difficult. It's not to take anything away from him and what he was able to accomplish. But even last year, he didn't rank in any of the major statistical categories for quarterbacks in the NFL. None. And people go right away, oh, well, he was injured. He played 14 games. He went from 50 touchdowns to 26. And when you even factor in the injury thing, look at Drew Brees. He played 11 games and had more touchdowns than Patrick Mahomes. So I'm just saying, look at the numbers. I'm not saying they figured him out, but he was not nearly as dominant as he was a year ago.
Yeah, and to your point, Rob, he did lose last year back-to-back home games to Indy and the Houston Texans, and his QBRs were very low in both those games by his standards. And then I keep trying to convince Shannon of this. He was pretty lucky to win the one Super Bowl he just won. He threw a late third-quarter interception, down 20-10. I thought, is that ball game? He threw another one early in the fourth quarter, down 20-10. I thought, uh-oh, is that the end of this Kansas City team? And then he got away with that 3rd and 15 punt that he threw with a pass rusher in his face. He just threw it up for grabs, and Tyreek came back and fair caught it. He had to wave and fair catch it, and it went for 44 yards and saved the game. Turned the game.
Well, that's just Kyle Shanahan is the one who gave up that Super Bowl.
Well, he did, thanks to Jimmy G.
But you and I both know Patrick Mahomes should have 2 Super Bowls already. He should have beat Tom Brady the year before. If they call that old ticky-tack, if a D4 doesn't line up offside, they got the game won. So he should have 2.
They should have won that game.
Yes.
I'll give you that. But that wasn't the Super Bowl. That was the AFC Championship game.
They were going to get to Go ahead.
All I'm saying is it ain't as easy as people want to make it out to be. And everybody's already crowning them. Be careful about that. I always go back to Kurt Warner and the Rams. You know this, Shannon. That team was dynamic. Ain't no way people thought. Remember, even when the Patriots beat them, people couldn't believe that.
Yeah, what happened? They got old and they got injured. Marshall started having knee problems. Kurt Warner was already. We have to realize he was already 28, and his body started breaking down. The guys got old. Patrick Mahomes. This team is young, Rob. Their oldest skill position player is Travis Kelce at 30. Tyreek is 26. Hardman is 22. My homeboy is 24.
Okay, so predict 4 Super Bowls. Well, seriously. Come on.
3 Super Bowls with 4 MVPs would be great for my homeboy. But Rob, if you compare every season to 50 touchdowns and 5,000, Patrick Mahomes is going to be a bum. because there's not a less chance that he'll put those numbers up again than what he did in his second year.
No doubt.
All right, Rob, appreciate it. Always good to have you with us. Good to see
No, it's
you.
not.
Yes.
It is good,
Yes, it is.
Shannon.
Thank you.
Keep your opinions to yourself. Rob, have a good one. We'll talk to you soon. Thank you.
Thank you.
Coming up next on Undisputed, LeBron left a couple things at home. He didn't take them to